I've been saying Filimon.
It's all good.
You never corrected me on that.
Well, I mean,
all that time on primetime.
Well, in Romanian, it's pronounced Filimon, and so like my Filimon is how like I heard it. Filimon is what it's just the easier way to saying it.
What's up, everyone? MASL Monday, episode number 2 for the season. I'm Alex Bastiavansky. Hope everyone is doing great, and I am happy to be joined by the man, the legend, Mr. Philly, Christian Filimon. How's it going, brother?
My man, how you doing? They say not too many good things happen on a Monday morning, but getting to hang out with you is a nice way to kick off the start of this week.
And the start of the day, because you and I are both on the West Coast, man. So this is early for us, but I'll tell you, man, it's going to be a good one today. Great stuff this weekend. I mean, only 3 games, but we got to see you guys, which we'll get to in a second, the rebranded Empire Strykers. Of course, we got to see a fantastic game between Baltimore and Utica. We got to see the relaunch of Mesquite and Monterey, which the final score was definitely a shocker throughout the league. Not necessarily because of the result, but because of the tallies involved, which weren't many. We'll get to all that in a sec. Let's start with your boys, the rebranded Empire Strykers. Great game against Tacoma. You guys went down 7-5, but what's your take on the contest?
It was a hard-fought match. Obviously, we went in sans a couple of our key players. The boys went down early, which unfortunately was a problem, but they managed to crawl their way back into the game within the fourth quarter. So one thing I could say about the team, knowing Coach Jimmy Norberg and the way they train, is the team is well-conditioned, and it showed because they finally started kicking things into gear during the fourth quarter. But obviously it's something we would have preferred over the course of the entire matchup. And hats off to Tacoma. Tacoma came in with their veterans, a couple of young guys in there, came in, took care of business, and, well, punched us in the face on our home opener.
Couple of big performances from them. We had Cox with 3 goals, Ramos 4 points. And I mean, we talked about it last week as well, but how massive is it for them to have a legend in his own right, Nick Pereira, back in the lineup this year? It was a lot of people didn't know until the last second whether it was going to happen. I don't think he put pen to paper until the last week. He wasn't listed on the roster either. But Pereira, just so great for the Stars to have him back, isn't it?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the guy's busy. He's a renaissance man. I mean, he captains the U.S. beach soccer team, and now he's got a new title that he could add on to his resume. GM of a professional team, the OL Reign NWSL, and within his first year, they clinched the Shield in the NWSL and get the #1 seed going into the playoffs. Not too bad. And, oh, by the way, he's a pretty darn good indoor player, too. I'm not surprised that he signed. Not because, like, he gave me any insight or anything, but, like, I can't imagine watching any Tacoma Stars games without Nick Pereira.
One-time MVP, one of the leading scorers in the history of the MASL. Big performers for you guys. Stinson, 3 goals. Wantapete, 2 absolute bangers as well. So, and this is a game you guys played without Frank Tayu as well, who was out with suspension. Overall, your thoughts on the Empire performance?
So obviously, we're disappointed in the fact that we lost our home opener, and technically the losing streak extends into this season. We came in last year with this idea of being championship bound, and unfortunately the team ended up losing their last 8 and getting knocked out of the playoffs. And so a big win to start things off, especially at home, would have been a nice way to kick things off. But unfortunately, Tacoma had other thoughts. But you said it. We didn't have Frank Tayu, the leading scorer in the history of this league and our leading scorer. But in addition to him not being there, we didn't have an all-MASL 6 elite defender, and that of Robert Palmer. Those 2 players would have certainly made a difference, both serving suspensions from the previous season. Obviously, going forward, all that restarts, and we get those boys back. But not having 2 of your best players, and I mean really your best players, is certainly going to have an impact on a team.
Let's talk about the rebrand for a second here. I did my best today. I found the most purplish thing that I had in the closet there in honor of the Empire Strykers, who are now powered in purple this season. Just tell us a bit about that, Christian, what you know about that, why Ontario decided to rebrand as the Empire Strykers.
So it was pretty much a forced matter in the grand scheme of things. So when the team got started, back when it went from Anaheim into Ontario, and then obviously we had the Ontario Fury. Had a great logo, had 9 seasons worth of Ontario Fury, but when push came to shove, it was discovered that the trademark and the logo was not trademarked. So as a result of that, legal team went out there and realized that this wasn't something we could do because there was another organization that had the legal rights to the name Fury. And that wasn't discovered until around August. So obviously that doesn't leave you with a lot of time. There was a scramble, and then we had to go out there and do as much as we could with the little bit of time that we had in order to get this rebrand thing going. And obviously we loved the Fury. We loved that logo. We loved everything that organization meant. It is a fresh restart, but obviously we would have loved to have concentrated on other things, like adding more firepower to this roster and spending money in other places. Having to put your entire focus on rebranding the organization kind of gave us it took away from our ability to have the kind of offseason that we did, but it was out of necessity, not just out of voluntary desires. And on Striking Fury, the official podcast for the Ontario Fury, episode 40, we do go into some greater detail on that rebrand. So for anybody out there who's wanting to go to podcasts, you can find that on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever podcast medium. Striking Fury with Philly, the Panda, and of course my partner in crime, the Doctor.
Right. And the amount of time and thought and preparation that goes into a rebrand and a proper launch. I mean, you are bang on with that. I mean, having it happen in August leaves no time, but I think you guys have done a great job with it. Looking sharp, man. And of course, you are the best dressed broadcaster in the MASL.
Thank you.
No offense to anyone else, but I don't think that's debated. You bring it every game. Last year, it was the red tux. You managed to go out and get yourself that beautiful purple tux I saw in the opening game. Looking sharp, buddy. Let's talk about the team. Big addition this year, Mo Ndiaye, who finished in the top 10 of league scoring last season. What are you expecting from Mo this season, and how crazy is it going to be to have him and Frank on the floor together?
Real quick, the thing that stinks for me the most about the rebrand is, my red suits are all now hiding, collecting dust. But I got a whole new edition of fun purple suits and maybe fun hair colors, although Justin Stinson did beat me to that, so I just wanted to make sure I touched on that. Mo Ndiaye, that was obviously a surprise signing for us. I mean, the guy was St. Louis's biggest offensive threat last season. 19 goals, 24 assists, a hell of a player and a big man, a great target forward that we could utilize in addition to Frank Tayu. Him coming to the team certainly adds a lot of firepower. I mean, teams obviously are all going to pile in on Frank anytime he's got the ball. And then obviously Justin Stinson, another unbelievable player, they're all going to pile on him. But there's only so much you can do to stretch out the defense in that regard. And you get a player like Mo Ndiaye who's no stranger to finding the back of the net. That's a great thing. And statistically, last year was Mo's best season within this game. And so obviously he's going to have to share a lot of the goals with a lot of the other players on the Empire Strykers team. But we love Mo. The organization loves him. The fans love him. He helps out within the front office. He's enjoying his time in LA, and he's a hell of a guy. I managed to drag him and Adam James out to an LAFC game and had a blast getting to know those guys. I'm really excited that they're here. And chemistry-wise, they've really been a nice addition, and everybody gets along with them really well.
Let's talk about this weekend upcoming then, because we will have Frank and Mo together on the floor at the same time for the first time, because Frank, of course, along with Palmer, was serving a suspension for the opening game. You guys are taking on the big boys, a home and home with the two-time defending champion, 16, I believe, all-time now for the San Diego Sockers. So it's going to be a tough couple of games. Although it should be pointed out, I believe it was you guys who handed them only one of their 2 losses last season in overtime. Always a great rivalry. Tell us about this weekend and what you're expecting from those 2 games.
I mean, when you look at the calendar moving ahead, obviously there's going to be a couple of teams that you're going to look at, pencil in and circle, maybe even put an asterisk and an exclamation point out of an excitement. In some cases, maybe even a bullseye. The San Diego Sockers obviously are the biggest rivals to the Empire Strykers. And this is a team that's won back-to-back championships. The flagship franchise, or at least one of the flagship franchises within the history and the sport of indoor soccer. We had a rough start to the season, but obviously welcoming them into Toyota Arena is going to be an arduous task. But I certainly look forward to seeing a really good game. Obviously, if the Empire Strykers can go out there and get a win against San Diego to kick things off this weekend, that'll be a really good motivational boost. But every single game is important. Every single team is going to be a threat. And obviously, we're very well familiar with the San Diego Sockers, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's going to be a real treat and a real good game to watch for everybody.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Since there were only 3 games last weekend, we can have a quick chat about all of them. Let's talk about the other 2. Baltimore, Utica. Wow. What a great home opener it was, season opener for the Baltimore Blast. But, I mean, they were on their heels for a good portion of the game down 3-0 early. They come back, they win it 8-7, humdinger of a game. Just tell us about that, and just a great way to kick off the season in Baltimore.
That was an example. That particular game was an example as to how amazing indoor soccer really is. A lot of people would think, or that are coming into this, watching it for the first time, oh, this Baltimore team isn't going to do anything because they're already down 3-0. And then next thing you know, they claw their way back into the game. We had 5 goals in the first quarter within a matter of minutes. You have both teams punching each other. I mean, it was 2 heavyweights going at it, slugfest, goal after goal, and it was incredibly exciting. At some point, you thought maybe Utica City's going to come in and pull it off. We saw a lot of tremendous things. We saw 2 examples of the new goalkeeper rule having to serve the blue card. I mean, this game had everything. If it had a couple of more minutes in it, we might have even seen some extra time. I mean, I was kind of hoping for it, but obviously fans of the Baltimore Blast would have preferred catching the W. But that game is the reason why we love the sport so much. I mean, action-packed from start to finish.
You cannot turn off for even a second in arena soccer. You simply can't. Some really positive things for Utica in that game, though. Gordy Gerson, 4 points, including a hat trick. Joey Tavernese looking great once again. For the Blast, Roque picking up where he left off last year. Talk about the way he played.
I mean, Roque is one of the best players in this game. I mean, exciting young man to watch. I'm saying young man. They're all young men compared to me. But, I mean, he's the engine that makes this team tick. Him and Donatelli. I mean, collectively, they both had 2 hat tricks. I mean, that's 6 goals between the 2. I mean, these guys picking up where things left off. They're a dangerous duo. I mean, 2 of the best players like on that turf. And then obviously you add in Moises Gonzalez from Utica City, contributing 2 assists to that. Can't not mention Mello. Mello had a tremendous play to stamp his name into the game. And then you have William Vanzella, who goes into it with 93 wins in his career, picking up his 94th. I mean, Baltimore looked really good, and it was an exciting game. What I love the most about them, Alex, is the fact that they showed grit. It's really easy to get down on yourself, falling down 3-0 to your rival at home, but they didn't care. They fired back. They got their way into this game, and as a result, they got the W.
Do you think Baltimore will contend this season in the East?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if they continue to play the way they did, I mean, obviously, first games aren't a real good indicator as to what a team's going to bring over the course of the season. I mean, Chihuahua last year was an example of that. They didn't get hot until midway, and then all of a sudden they were gangbusters. But Baltimore right now, fantastic team. Obviously, again, coming back, showing that tenacity, showing that grit, showing that determination this early on, that only means good things are to come going forward.
Good point about Chihuahua, too. I think they were winless in their first 7 games or something last year, which was mind-blowing considering the talent they had. But yeah, in the end last year, a lot of people would say that they were quite possibly the second strongest team in the MASL by the end of the season, even above the Florida Tropics. That is debatable. But man, they played San Diego tough. Let's move on to the other game, Mesquite, Monterey, the reemergence, of course, of 2 teams that were dormant for the last couple of seasons. The legendary Monterey Flash and the Mesquite Outlaws, coached by Tattoo, of course, one of the all-time greats in arena soccer. We saw something in this game that we have not seen for, I'm going to say now, I looked this up, 4 seasons, I believe it's been now, since we saw a 2-1 arena soccer game. That was Milwaukee taking down Baltimore 2-1 in the playoff semifinal in 2018-19. Christian, the last time that we had a 2-1 arena soccer game, unless I missed a game as I was scrolling through the scores from the past 3 seasons, in which case I do apologize. But a 2-1 game, would you have ever expected that in the home opener, especially considering the firepower that was on the floor?
No, I mean, you said it with the firepower that was on the floor between both teams. I mean, you look at a guy like Aguilar, who's on Monterrey. His last season, he scored 33 goals alone by himself. He didn't have as many with Chihuahua because obviously he played half that. But I mean, that's a mega goal scorer. Yeah. You look on the other side of the turf, you're looking at Dallas, you get players like a George De Leon, who's no stranger to finding the back of the net there. Another great player, and we obviously miss him here in the Inland Empire. But Monterrey, you figured the sleeping giant is going to rise. I mean, they were MASL Cup winners in 2014, 2015. They finished pretty much first in every season. Otherwise, they went to back-to-back finals. I mean, you thought that these guys were going to go out there and be gangbusters, as I mentioned earlier on. It's the second time I've used that word. I don't believe I remember the first time I've used that word and when the last time it was that I used it. But obviously, like, that scoring line was surprising. And it was an interesting transition going from that Baltimore Blast Utica City game to that game right there. I mean, 2-1. But hey, hats off. It's not like the teams didn't try. Between the two of them, you had 30 shots. And at some point, you're probably most of us are probably who aren't Flash fans. We're probably pulling for Pollo, because how often does a keeper have the opportunity to get a clean sheet? That's like getting a no-no in baseball. I mean, these things don't happen very often.
I would say it's actually rarer in arena soccer than it is in baseball. We haven't seen a clean sheet in a long time. It's phenomenal. I mean, it was just an incredible defensive matchup. And Morales, rookie of the year last year, of course, moved to Mesquite in the offseason. He gets another goal. Are you expecting big things again from Morales this season?
There's no reason not to. I mean, success breeds upon success, and the confidence he would have coming from a first year to now a league veteran, he's just going to pick up where things left off. And it's going to be interesting to see Mesquite moving forward. I mean, they're very much sidekicks influence. That's going to be a fun rivalry to watch and see developed. Obviously, Tattoo having gotten his legendary accolades as a member of the Dallas Sidekicks. Those are going to be a couple of matchups that I'm going to be really looking forward to.
The Dallas Derby is going to be spicy.
Oh, yeah.
This season, no question about it. Let's do a segment now, and apologies to all our Spanish viewers if this doesn't make any sense. We're going to have some fun with it. Of course, your goal call when you see a biggie is Goalazo. And we're going to do Goalazo or Goalaz-no on this next one. So fact or fiction, basically. So a few little points here. And let's start off with San Diego three-peating as MASL champions. Goalazo or Goalaz-no? Christian.
As the great Ric Flair once said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And San Diego has been the man these past couple of seasons, time and time again. They obviously have a great shot at repeating this year. And I'm not saying this because they are my team's biggest rival, but I do feel that somebody else will contend for that mantle. There will be a changing of the guard and a new champion in MASL. And I know there's going to be a lot of soccer fans that are going to hit me up angrily, but I'm going to say Goalaz-no.
You are ready and waiting for those comments to come in, aren't you? Okay, so
they love me down in San Diego.
Of course, how can they not love the Philly, for crying out loud? But let's follow up on that then. And the next one. Chihuahua will be the biggest threat to knock off San Diego in the West. Goalazo or Goalaz-no?
I mean, such a good team towards the end of the season, and they retain a lot of those players, Sans players like Aguilar. I think it is too early to tell. Obviously, Monterrey can be a rival. Empire could do something. Tacoma can. And heck, we haven't seen Dallas. So I think the field is wide open, but I say Goalaz-no, with Chihuahua being San Diego's biggest rival and biggest opponent in the Western Conference.
Okay, moving to the East here, although this affects the entire MASL. Ian Bennett, two-time MASL MVP, enters this season looking for, as San Diego is looking for the three-peat, Bennett's looking for the three-peat as MVP. Ian Bennett three-peats as the most valuable player in the MASL. Goalazo or no?
I love me some IB26. I mean, one of the nicest guys I've had the opportunity to chat with. Getting an MVP once is an arduous task. Getting it a second time, unbelievable. Getting it a third time, I love you, IB, but Goalaz-no. I think there are a lot of really good players in this league. IB 26 being among the top 3 best. I just don't see him three-peating. And if he does, I owe the man a beer.
If there was a man to knock him off, who do you think it would be this year?
I mean, obviously, there's so many good players within this league. If there's anybody that I think can contend with IB 26, oh boy, that's a tough one.
Putting you on the spot. Sorry, buddy.
No, that's good. I mean, there's so many good players down in San Diego as well. I mean, you've got the likes of a Brandon Escoto. That's fantastic. You've got some really good players, obviously, on the Florida Tropics. Oh, I mean, you are putting me on the spot, but you know what? I'm going to be biased. I am going to say the king returns. Frank Taillou is going to contend. He's hungry for a championship, obviously wanting one really badly, and he tasted some success over the course of this offseason, winning a championship with the United States futsal team. I say Big Frank comes in bigger, better, badder, and hungrier than ever. I give it to Frank. I'm biased, but I don't care.
King Frank finished top 5 in scoring last year as well. So I brought this up last week too. It also depends on the definition they're going to use for most valuable player. Is it the player that's most important to their team and their performance? Because it'd be so easy to pick one of the guys from San Diego. They've got so many big scorers on San Diego, but they've also got so many options to use. Ian Bennett last year, there wasn't a lot of options in Milwaukee scoring. I mean, I'm not trying to, disparage the rest of the team, but he carried so much of the offensive load. So understandable he was get MVP. Frank Taillou, next one. Frank and Mo Ndiaye, the new man in Empire, will be the most devastating 1-2 punch in the league this season. Goalazo or Goalaz-no? Until
proven otherwise, this team still belongs to Frank Taillou and Justin Stinson. So I will say that as much as I love Mo and as much as I think he's going to contribute, it's still the Frank and Justin show. So I'm going to say Goalaz-no. But there's some interesting news that just hit the wire within MASL, and I'm noticing this on the Instagram for the Empire Strykers. Adrian Perez, the prodigal son, returns to the Empire Strykers. So you might want to start looking into that. Adrian Perez, obviously a member of the Ontario Fury, found his way over to LAFC, played at DC United recently, but hey, I just checked it out on Instagram. Breaking news on MASL Monday, folks.
Huge pickup for you boys. Wow. So the rich get richer. Interesting. Of course, Mo finished in the top 5 of MASL scoring last season. So top 10 anyway. So a huge addition for your team. You guys are going to have some real offensive firepower this year. Looking forward to it. Okay. Baltimore will finish ahead of Kansas City in the Eastern Conference. Goalazo,
oh boy,
Goalaz-no.
This is where I start to make some friends. I do like the way Baltimore played over this past weekend. In fact, I would venture to say that I liked how they played a little more than I liked the way Kansas City played over last weekend against St. Louis. But I do think the Comets are one of the most talented teams in this league. Obviously, with some P1 visa issues that's been plaguing us, that would be a whole different story. But I do think the Kansas City Comets will finish ahead of the Baltimore Blast. Goalazo.
Goalazo. Okay. And one more. Utica City, which came into the league. They were Syracuse, I believe, before that. But they came in right from the start. Made such a great impression in Utica. Some of the best crowds in the MASL. I mean, they are into it in Utica. And the team rewarded them. They were such a strong team. Last year, out of character, missed the playoffs. So this season, Utica City will make the playoffs once again. Goalazo or Goalaz-no?
I mean, they almost crept in last season, and I do love Utica City. From the top down, Tommy Tanner, all the way down to the mascot. That's a fun crowd. That's a fun place. I love their players. Love me some Timmy Goldman as well. Stacking their lineup with Kid Dynamite himself, Gordy Gerson, and obviously he had a really big impact, netting himself a hat trick within the game. There's no doubt about it. Utica City makes the playoffs. Goalazo.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them back there. They're so much fun to watch. Okay, let's just a lot of games. The schedule really gets rolling this upcoming weekend after 2 games the first weekend and then 3 games last weekend. Full slate of games coming up this weekend. We already talked about your home and home with San Diego. just maybe mention a couple other games you're looking forward to seeing this weekend.
I mean, you got to start off with the reigning defending Eastern Conference champions, the Florida Tropics. I mean, they are one of the best franchises thus far. I mean, their past couple of seasons, they've gotten closer and closer to ascending to the top of the MASL mountain. And I say they're going to get even closer this year. Head coach Clay Roberts wants that coveted trophy, and that team with Zach Reggett and all those unbelievable players they have. I'm certainly looking forward to watching Baltimore go out there against Florida. That'll be a very fun game.
Do you think, if you're prognosticating here, that Florida makes a return to the finals this year? Do you think they will take the Eastern Conference? And they haven't even played a game yet. But looking at their roster, from what I mean, we're just spitballing here, but I mean, as we start the season, is that sort of your prediction that you think Florida would be the strongest team in the East?
Until they prove me otherwise, yes, I believe the Tropics are the strongest team in the East. They haven't proven me wrong otherwise. So they are going to be the team to contend with, and they've got some of the most exciting players within this league. Yes, they are going to be a tough team. I think it's their Eastern Conference to lose.
Right on. And one more that I'm really looking forward to seeing, Milwaukee and Kansas City. Great to see Milwaukee, of course. Just one of the legendary franchises in the MASL as well. Two-time MVP Ian Bennett, but Milwaukee hitting the floor for the first time this season. What are you expecting from Milwaukee this year, by the way?
Obviously an improvement upon last season, and all the Waves fans out there are expecting that as well. They got my good buddy on there tending in between the pipes, Willie B. I love me some Willie B. Obviously, we got a chance to hang out with him doing the MASL Chill Fan Cave last season. That's a big keeper to add back there. They bring back some of their other players that have been kind of floating around. I mean, look, Milwaukee Wave is a great franchise, a great fan base, great crowd. Certainly enjoy seeing what they got to do there. And I mean, IB26. I mean, what more can we say about this guy? I love seeing him, and as long as he stays healthy and continues on doing what IB26 can do, I think Milwaukee's going to have a much more improved season than they had last year.
And also another place where they get great crowds in Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah.
And they are so into that game. And of course, a reminder to everyone, you can watch all the MASL games live or even catch the archive on Twitch, where all MASL games are now located. That's it, buddy. I think we're good. Anything else you want to add as we finish off here about your Empire Strykers or anything else?
I mean, I'm just happy that indoor soccer is back. It's so tough transitioning into watching outdoor after going through a full season of indoor. Obviously, like myself, you as well, we all started with a love for the outdoor game and had to transition to indoor. It's such a great game. It's such an exciting sport. I'm so happy that we're back. Obviously, so many great players that are back as well. I'm happy MASL is here, and I'm really excited for the season. And I'm really excited to see some of the new things that are going to happen in terms of maybe sponsorships, new teams getting added. I love the fact that MASL is back here. One thing I will not apologize for is my enthusiasm and my love for this game. You don't like my enthusiasm? Sorry. It is what it is, baby. I am happy to be here. I love this league, and I love this game.
You got the voice, the hair, and the suits to prove it, my friend. No question about it. Before we go, one question. USA, unfortunately, knocked out of the tournament by the Netherlands. My Canadians, sadly, did not win a game, but, we'll be back 4 years from now, of course, with us, you guys, in Mexico hosting this thing. Who is your team going forward? Do you have an affiliation to any specific team with your background or anything, or one team you're cheering for as the World Cup goes into the knockout rounds now?
So normally it starts with the German national team. My father's side of the family, they're all in Munich. I did 8th grade and all of high school in Frankfurt. I was in Germany when they won in 1990. So it all starts with them. So obviously them getting knocked out, pardon me, them getting knocked out, it was a tough pill to swallow. USA's no longer in it. I don't have as much of I don't have a pony in the race, but I watch so much Premier League as it is. And I'm so intimately familiar with England. So who knows? I'm going to say it's coming home.
It's coming home. Big prediction. I have a lot of friends who would love to hear you say that, my friend. So my background, Hungarian, Croatian, English, Irish, Slovakian.
All right.
Yes, I'm a true goulash. So I've got two teams remaining in this tournament. I got my Croats. Actually, I gotta check this. We're not gonna tell everyone when we're taping the show.
Yeah, they might not even be here anymore.
They might not even be there by the time we finish this. But and the Three Lions are the two teams that I've got. That Croatia comment may not age well. With
penalties upcoming, apparently.
Penalties upcoming as we are taping this show. Oh my God. So we're ending on a good note here because I'll turn around and probably watch the end of it. But those are my teams. All I know is that, man, this has been one of the most exciting World Cups in recent memory with all the upsets and everything. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, Morocco getting out of the group stage is first time since what, 1934? Like insane.
Winning the group. The group too. Phenomenal stuff from the African nations in this tournament. Anyway, a lot of fun. Enjoy the rest of it, my friend. Enjoy the next week of soccer in the MASL, and we will be doing this again soon, you and I, on the show, okay?
Looking forward to it. Always happy to be here. Again, not a lot of great things happen on a Monday, but getting to hang out with you is a great way to start off this week, and I do sincerely mean that.
Agreed, my friend. Love having you on the show always. And everyone, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Always appreciate the viewership. And enjoy your week, everyone. We'll see you next Monday.